We are halfway through the WWE 2K24 cycle, which means we are probably halfway as well to the brand new WWE 2K25, which we are still bits away. We are still 2 DLC packs away from this. So just to speak on it a little bit and just to get into, just what we've seen so far with WWE 2K24. And just to begin at the very beginning of the year, we got a lot of updates. In January, that's about when the rollout begins. We start seeing little things here and there. Royal Rumble happens, everything happens, and then we are in business. WWE 2K24 started to get teased with the social media, and I gotta give props where it's due. The social media was amazing. The hype that they were putting out for this game was amazing. It had people looking forward for more, and as a content creator, I was happy. I was putting out content every day, sometimes even twice a day. So I would say that it played a major role in my growth when it came to these predictions and what they could possibly be putting in the game. So it started with referee shirts, caskets, which led a lot of people to begin that we're getting an Undertaker edition, but also a casket match. And the casket match was correct. And I'm going to get into those two match types because that was probably one of the most prominent things leading up to the release of the game. Then players went out there, played the game. It was a fun time, and gameplay started to come out. And what was starting to be WWE 2K24's hype was quality of life changes. Everybody was talking about quality of life, what they made for the game to improve and be better. Obviously, WWE 2K24 has an engine that, they're happy with. This is something that they developed over the last 3 years, and I think that they finally believe that they nailed it. There is some stuff wrong with the engine. I wouldn't say that the game is boring or whatever the case is. I think it's more in the modes that I will get into as well, but I think just getting rid of the fighting stances will really help me understand this engine just a little bit more than I already do. So that's just one of the two things there. But not to get off track, obviously they're happy with where they're at with the engine, so they just wanted to improve upon that, and I think that they did a fine job of improving upon it, but there just wasn't enough improvements when it came down to longevity and something that can hook you throughout the year. So the social media hype is over. We know that My Faction is coming, which My Faction players were a little bit confused because there was nothing about My Faction in terms of hype throughout, social media hype window. There was nothing about My Faction until maybe a day or two, and a lot of the stuff that we found out, we came to find out once we already had the game, which is another thing as well. I don't know if their marketing team just doesn't care about My Faction because they know it doesn't really get the user base as much as they should, or they just wanted to stay quiet because of the negative stigma the mode already had. But we already knew something was coming with Persona cards at that point, and Persona cards, they have been, I don't know, I'm kind of like in the middle with Persona cards, because when they put them for cheap and when they put them to gain for free, I think it's great. When they want to charge you an arm and a leg like The Rock, I think it's bad. So Persona cards came about. People were super hyped because they were saying, okay, this is finally a way that 2K can get people on board. Me personally, I thought that this was a way to get people on board. I think My Faction has way more potential than it has, and I know a lot of you guys hate it, rightfully so, and I'm somebody that doesn't really play it as much as others do, but I do think it has a lot of potential. And I think that it's missing a lot of stuff simply because of the online servers. The online servers are very, very, very bad when it comes to My Faction. So I think that's one part of the mode that is holding it back, because you're grinding for all these cards, but you can't even take them online. It's basically like an offline mode where you just collect cards, and they require money a lot of the time to get Persona cards and attires. I mean, The Rock, that was like story of the week, dude. We were seeing people spend $800, $900, $1,000 to get The Rock, when somebody like What's the Status put The Rock out there for basically free. So there's just many things with My Faction and the way that it's been approached this year that is a tad bit confusing. Now, with all of that being said, the social media hype window ends, the game releases, we see what My Faction is, then we get to Universe mode. And Universe mode was, wow. Man, oh man, I can go on about this one. Universe mode, we see it, and I remember seeing a Symbols video. Shout out to him for allowing me to use his content on the channel. I was able to go in and clip a few things, and I made a video, and I was super disappointed on WWE 2K24's Universe mode. And it's something that I've made the best out of, and I've made multiple videos on, but we see the way the mode panned out, and we're like, man, you guys had a chance to do something crazy with this mode, and nothing was really done. The mode just feels maxed out where it's at the moment, and that's just what it is with universe mode. I hope that they just dissolve it, put it into GM mode, and we just get a bunch of on and off features where we can just do universe mode in GM mode, get the promo mechanic, get the draft, get stuff like that, because universe mode can't get any of that. And when you look at GM mode, it just looks like the more complete mode with features that we've been dying for in a universe mode. So I'm hoping that that is indeed the case with universe mode next year. So universe mode comes around, they add some more cutscenes. That's really it. As a fan, it was very disappointing because it was missing key details such as Double Night WrestleMania. We've had Double Night WrestleMania for about 4 years now, still not in the game, you know, and they give us day and night arenas. Just imagine how dope it would be if there was an arena that went from day to night in universe mode. Just a lot of key features that were missing with this game and this game mode in general, and it was just sad to see. So I'm not going to touch too much on universe mode because we've already seen what universe mode is. So not going to talk about it too much. Then we go into showcase. Showcase was not good by any means, in my opinion. I just think that it was very repetitive, very confusing. And to me, I hate the slingshot mechanic because I feel like the slingshot mechanic does not need to be in this game. We want to play the actual video game. I don't want to see me doing a move and then pan out the move and then see it how it happened in real life with real life footage. I want to see the game animate those things because that's the point of a video game. We go back to 2K15, amazing stuff. I want to see that type of stuff in there, and if we can't see that type of stuff in there with that added detail, hire somebody and give us a road to WrestleMania and scrap the showcase, because I think showcase actually, aside from universe mode, I think that mode was actually not loved by many people. I think that it brought back some nostalgia because we saw the game mode and we saw what it could be, and you know, it gave us throwbacks to WWE 2K14. But yeah, man, aside from that, I'm not too crazy about this, you know, so I'm hoping that they have a different plan for showcase. I am certainly looking forward to seeing what they bring and what they do with it, but I definitely think that if they are going to do showcase, please go back and watch 15, 16, go watch those showcases, and hopefully you guys can replicate some of that and how you guys did it. And my rise, that is a decent mode this year. It wasn't bad. I think that they still have to cut the fat. I don't have too much to say about the My Rise, but I think that for what I've played and what I enjoyed, I think it was cool. I think the storyline being on par with a little bit of what's going on in WWE, I think that was a pretty dope thing as well. So honestly, I am kind of, you know, content with the My Rise. Just want to see a little bit more and just want to see the fat cut where you go backstage and you gotta like just pick there and talk to people. I think that's not interactive enough. Give us Road to WrestleMania vibes where I could walk around the locker room if I want to, and I can just do stuff like that. So just my 2 cents with that, man. Don't got much to say on My Rise, but I think it was all right. I would rate it about a 7 out of 10 based on what I've seen, and I know a lot of people enjoyed it and played it, and like I said, I love the fact that it was on par with the real WWE. You know, Roman Reigns coming off his championship reign, Cody Rhodes was there in the beginning intro as well. So just a few things that I did enjoy personally. And my GM, I think this was the most improved mode. I don't really play my GM that much. I played it before this year, I've done streams with it, but I'm not too crazy about my GM. So personally, I think that it is the most improved mode, but it is not my cup of tea because I don't like objectives. I don't like, you know, getting my hand held throughout things that I already have an understanding for. So that's just my 2 cents with that. So I just had to go on ahead and put that out there. Nonetheless, GM mode, I feel like, is really getting a lot of love, and I think it's getting more complete each and every year. So just my 2 cents with that. Before we go too far, we definitely want to speak on the match types. And I know that I mentioned this earlier in the video, but the casket match and the special referee match. I'll start with the good. In terms of good, the special referee match is probably one of the best match types they've added in terms of just details, everything. It's just so good. And I like that you can either have the freedom or you can be held on a leash and you can be threatened with another referee coming out. I think that the special referee match was done great by 2K, and I'm glad that they brought it back, and I'm glad that they brought it back even better. I remember Brian Williams saying, when we do this, we want to add a match type that we can add to and not just put something in there. And you can tell that the special referee match definitely had a lot of just effort put into it. Now, the casket match, it's good to have another match in there with another gimmick, and I think the casket match is something that was really missed, and I think that it was well received. But over time, I think that this was probably one of the least played matches, at least for me personally, and I think from other people's thoughts that have mentioned the match types. And I think that has to do with the mini game that they added. It's the same submission mini game on the casket and the ambulance match as well. And that one, I almost forgot. That's how forgettable the ambulance match is. I think that it is a great thing that you can get on top of the ambulance and interact with the casket as well. But I think that we're missing just more. The mini game is not a good thing to add because it feels like the matches are less special. And before the game came out, I was like, you know what? I can deal with the mini game. At the end of the day, these are gimmick matches that are in the game, which is very true. These are gimmick matches that you can use in universe mode and do whatever you want to do. But the minigame makes it just boring. It makes it very repetitive. There is no difference between these matches. And personally, as a player and a user, you want to see difference between those matches. And I think that's the biggest concern with those match types. So I think that we have to go on ahead and speak about it, see how everybody feels. How many times have you guys played these match types? And I'm more referring to casket and ambulance match, because special referee match, I've most definitely played that one a lot more than those. And don't get me wrong, I'm grateful that they're in the game, but I just wish there was more detail, you know, added with those match types along with everything else. That's just my 2 cents on that. Overall, now we get to the point where we're over halfway through this year's game and there's a lot of stuff going on. Community creations is broken, calls are broken. It feels like the patches sometimes do more of a disservice than service to the players, but nonetheless, I think that it has been a decent year with a lot of flaws, and I think that they need to clear up these flaws. You look back throughout the years and it's like, man, we need to see these things improve a lot more. It feels like the post-launch support suffers a whole lot sometimes, and not for nothing. The patches this year for the CM Punk and the Post Malone DLC were amazing. They were fantastic. There was so much detail added to this year's game just after launch. You don't expect those things to be, you know, taken care of at this point in the year, but they were, and that's just a flat out truth, and you got to give credit to 2K where it's due. But since we're talking about patches and DLC, the DLC is okay. CM Punk finally made his return. Amazing. Then you had the Post Malone and Friends pack. Then you have the Pat McAfee, and we already know how that go. Not going to get into that because at the end of the day, we do understand where we stand with that, and I've already mentioned it so many times, so it's not worth me blowing up your ears again. But we have the Global Stars DLC pack, which we are waiting on, and the WCW pack. Me personally, I'm actually happy about 3 of these DLC packs, and the other 2, they can go away, and I really wouldn't care for them. So the DLC, I think, was done pretty nicely this year. I really wish that we could have seen more NXT stars, but it's just, I guess, the way that it was scheduled with the Post Malone and Pat McAfee DLC scheduled back to back. I think that's what hurt the legitimacy of the DLC. If they were spread out and we had stars in between, I think it would have been a much better result, and, you know, just better to the players, because you would not be getting trash back to back. And not to mention, I know that we had a couple notable stars in the last pack, but let's be honest, everybody's waiting on that Global Stars DLC pack, and the hype for this DLC was insane at the beginning of the year when we saw that CM Punk was finally making his comeback to WWE games. But with all of that being said, this year's game is a miss. And I say it's a miss because the modes have not really delivered, like universe mode. Universe mode is the it mode to WWE games. That is the motor of the game, and it seems that they have lost all focus on it. So to me personally, this game was a miss, and that's just my 2 cents through halfway through the year. Will my, you know, opinion change? Probably not, but I wanted to put that out there for those who were interested in getting the game or wanted to hear my thoughts on the game and how I feel about the game thus far. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. I'm gonna catch y'all. Peace.